Hola, ¿cómo están? Bueno, pues, ¿qué creen? Hoy es nuestro número 10 de MDWeekend Inspiration 10. Ya habíamos hecho algunas publicaciones, pero todas eran fotografías y un poco de texto. Pero hace 10 semanas que empezamos a hacer MDW Weekend Inspiration con video y a subir pues los contenidos a nuestro canal de YouTube. Entonces, bueno, justamente el día de hoy nos toca hablar, bueno, decidimos hacer como una conexión del último video que hicimos de Alien y el día de hoy hablar de Depredador, o como nos estábamos riendo el otro día con voy a hacer que Kevin diga depredador en inglés, a ver si a él le pasa lo mismo que depredador en español, a ver si a él le pasa lo mismo que a nosotros en inglés. Kevin, you have to say depredador just to see if it happens the same with you like with us saying predator.
Predator.
No, pero en español es depredador.
Predator.
Sí, almost.
Okay. I'll work on it. I'll practice.
Ok. Bueno, pues entonces vamos a empezar. Hoy queremos cambiar un poco también la dinámica de los videos, siendo que pues es el número 10. Vamos a centrarnos un poquito más en la parte de los efectos especiales y no tanto como de lo que trata la película, porque bueno, al final también gran parte de la película es en la selva y esta parte de estar viendo dónde está el personaje principal. Pero bueno, consideramos que lo más importante de esta película pues justamente son los efectos especiales. Entonces, Kevin, before you start thinking about mezcal and pollo con mole.
I'm too late. I'm always thinking about that.
Let's start with the movie. Gabriel, how are you there in Mexico City? Are you thinking as well in mezcal and pollo con mole?
Only mezcal. I'm always thinking in mezcal, actually.
Nice.
Part of my brain is mezcal, and next one is predator. Yay! I did it.
Yes.
You said it.
Okay, so yeah, I will have to say that this was my first time watching Predator. I think I like the movie. I like more the effects, I have to say. The first part of the movie, I think it's good because you can like understand the whole point of the movie and the story, of course. But yeah, like I talked a little bit with Kevin before the video, and he was like, well, if you want, you can just jump a little bit.
It's a lot of running around in the woods, kind of standard action movie, 80s action movie stuff.
Yes. But well, the most like important thing is probably the suit, the design of the creature. So let's start talking about that and the like the design of it, no?
Okay. In 1986, there was a company called Boss Films, located in Marina del Rey, California. Very nice area to work in, right by the ocean. We had worked on Ghostbusters. Boss Films primarily did optical effects and miniatures, spaceships, and the building that blows up in Die Hard, the explosion on the top and all that kind of stuff. But they also had a creature department, that was started for Ghostbusters. And Steve Johnson was the guy's name that ran that. And in 86, I worked there. We were just finishing up, I think it was Poltergeist 2, and we got a script in called The Hunter. And it was either The Hunter or just Hunter, I don't remember. And it turned into Predator. And we got the bid to do it, and we started to create all the effects for Predator, but we didn't finish them, at least not in the completed movie. We did a lot of designs, and my job on Predator was as a designer, and so a lot of it was the suit itself. Some of it was just like drawings of it, in a tree, killing somebody, like kind of action comic book sketches. There were also trophies that at one point they were going to show the trophies that the Predator had in his spaceship. That they didn't use that idea until I think the second one, where Danny Glover goes in the ship and you see these skulls and things. And we actually made one. I did a bunch of different creature designs. We were fooling around with different materials at the time, just for the trophy heads. And it was a translucent urethane, I think, that was kind of whitish color. So it was going to be this translucent bone-looking color. And I did so many designs that I finally ran out of ideas in that short amount of time. And the last one I did was just basically like a big mosquito head. It's like, I just sketched it. And everyone is like, oh, that looks real cool. And so we actually built it. They made a big head of my design, but of course it's not in the movie. And the suit itself, we had a lot of designs, a lot of kind of standard looking creature, like alien suits. We tried to make things different. Steve was pushing more and more to do it on like extended legs and arm extensions, like you would have in an ape suit almost, except these would be monster extensions. 20th Century Fox was looking at all these designs, and they ended up hiring a whole other person separate from us at Boss Films. There was a designer that came up with the look that 20th Century Fox approved, and it was a long neck with kind of a skull-like insect head at the end with big bug eyes. We had the long arm extensions. We had long legs with leg extensions. So it was impossible to walk on it. You had to be held on a cable. And it had sort of a shell on the outside that surrounded his body that was separate from his torso. It was approved by 20th Century Fox. You'll see interviews with some of the people, the producers and the director, and they all say, when it arrived in Mexico, we opened the box and we were all like, what is this? We can't use this.
I saw it.
It's all, yeah. And they, for one, approved the design from their designer. And for two, we were shooting test footage of the suit all the time and sending it to Fox. They saw it before it went to Mexico. They knew exactly what they were getting. It's just that when they got it there, and this is all on them, because it has to be hung off of a crane on a cable, otherwise you can't stand up in it. They're in the jungle. And it's like, well, how are we going to get cranes in here and move cranes around? And so it's like, this suit is completely impractical. Like, we can't use this design. Boss Films fucked up, and we can't use this. And in typical Hollywood tradition, they can't admit that they are wrong and then go back to Boss Films and it's like, okay, look, come up with a solution. We can't film with this thing hanging off a crane. Let's go back to some of your earlier designs. Let's revisit those or come up with something new. They have to go to cover their asses to a different studio, a different shop. So Fox went to Stan Winston studio, and Stan hired Kevin Hall, who was a 7'3" actor. He passed away in the 80s. He was also Harry and the Hendersons, and he was in a movie called Monster in the Closet, low-budget horror movie that I was working for Doug Beswick, and I had to do a body cast on Kevin and a head cast, and it was all out of ultracal. So his body cast weighed like 1,000 pounds.
Wow.
It was so heavy to carry it around. And I sculpted the monster, and then I built the suit, put the suit all together. It was all foam rubber, and basically built it on Kevin. He would just sit there, and I glued all the pieces on. He was a really nice guy. He's a funny guy. But, so yeah, and that's happened. I've seen that happen many times. I worked on a movie a few years ago called Legion, and it was about angels battling in heaven. They come down to earth, and either it was the second coming of Christ being born, or it was the Antichrist, or I forget what.
The Antichrist.
Some baby is getting born, and one angel goes rogue, and he comes down to earth, and he cuts his wings off, and he goes to save. He's going to save this baby that God wants dead, or I forget what the story was. And so they have all these demons come and attack. One of the angels that he fights, another second angel comes down, and these angels are like big tough guys. They're not little babies floating around with a harp. They're like warriors. They designed a costume for this guy to wear. It was all like a foam latex bodysuit that had all like writing, almost like hieroglyphics all over it, with these clear domes that were on it, that the costume designer came up with. And production went crazy over it, that they loved it. I'll get back to Predator in a second. We were at a company called Optic Nerve, and Glenn Hetrick, the guy that's on Face Off, Glenn had bought out Optic Nerve, and so he was in charge. And he was trying to tell them, it's like, this is going to look terrible when we actually make this. It's not going to work with these big vacuform bubbles on it. It's going to be, they'll all be clanking into each other. And they insisted that it was going to be awesome. We built the suit, put it all together, had all the vacuform pieces, everything on it, and it was just the most ridiculous looking thing you'd ever seen. It was completely impractical. You couldn't move around in it. He's supposed to be fighting and crawling into car windshields and stuff. They got it on location. They couldn't do anything with it. They just blamed Optic Nerve for making this terrible suit. They turned around and went to somebody else and made a more sensible suit that was designed by the guys who were running that company. So it's like they can't admit that they were wrong. They have to save face, and that's always the way. They'll just go to a second shop instead of going, you know what, you were right, we were wrong.
Okay.
You can't do that in Hollywood. So that's what happened on Predator. I'm just saying that happens many, many times in productions. So yeah, we built the suit. It had fiber optics in the eyes so that it could light up and it could move. The jaws and everything, things could move. They hired an actor who was brand new to Hollywood from Belgium named Jean-Claude Van Damme, who later became a martial arts star. And he hated wearing the suit. Because he couldn't move in it, he couldn't see out of it. It completely was a waste of his talent because he couldn't do any of the stunts that he later became famous for, which is, again, production thinking that they're smart, but actually they're not smart at all. That it's like you take this limber gymnastic guy and you put him in this big, heavy foam rubber suit. You need a guy who's a suit performer, not a karate guy. It would have been better if they put me in the suit because I know how to perform in a suit. So he hated it, and I would be sitting there drawing, and Jean-Claude would come into the shop, he could get his body cast and stuff, and he would come into my room where I was drawing, and he would complain to me. I go, it's like, that's too bad. And he was like, I like you. I like to talk to you. You listen to me. And I was like, I have to sit here and draw. Like, I can't. I have to be here. I'm at work.
So basically, you were designing and ignoring him.
Well, he was annoying me because I'm trying to draw these pictures, and he was complaining about how much he hated being in the suit. But I can't blame him, and it was just production's fault for doing that. And we went through the whole thing. We had the red fabric suit that matched the actual foam latex suit to do the optical effects. Then production they left us out, and we went on to, I forget what we did next, Big Trouble in Little China maybe, or something like that. It was a busy time back then, so it wasn't really that much of a problem. You just go from one movie to another.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that was the 80s, You just call somebody up and it's like, what are you working on? Big Trouble in Little China. You want to work on it? Yeah, okay. And it was like that easy. So production goes to Stan Winston, and Stan is the guy who later did Terminator and Aliens, the second one, and Jurassic Park, probably most famously, and just a lot of different things. So they made their suit on Kevin Hall, which was basically just a big foam rubber suit with an animatronic head on it that had the mandibles could move it, and the brows could move. And I think he moved the jaw. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he opened it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Open up this part and then opens.
Yeah, and then it was all. I think that was before. No, I can't say. We were using remote controls back then too. It was either a remote control operated or it was on cables, which was really common earlier in the 80s. It was like bicycle cables to move things. And he had scleral contact lenses in. And that became the Predator that we all know and love today.
Nice.
But it's one interesting thing is that after that, Stan Winston, he actually directed a movie called Pumpkinhead. And Pumpkinhead, and it has Lance Henriksen, who plays Bishop, the android in Aliens. The monster in there is a guy hung from a wire with a head extension, arm extensions, and leg extensions. So because we had to send over our Predator suit to Stan Winston Studios, so they were looking at what we had come up with on Predator, and Stan thought, you can make this work, this idea, not this exact suit, but like this concept is interesting. So Pumpkinhead comes out, and it's like,
that's already
what we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's cheating.
Everybody's inspired by something, but
that's a nice and very
basic.
cool way to say that they that they stole the idea.
Yeah, that's very political correction.
See?
Well, I can't fault Stan for that. If he saw potential in something, and it's like, I can make this work. But I do fault the production on Predator for, just doing it the way they did it, But that's Hollywood.
I have a question. Did the red suit that they used, is it also like foam, or what? Is just fabric?
It was a fabricated suit, so it was like sheet foam.
Oh, okay.
Like mattress foam, sort of, that was carved up, and it just had a dyed red spandex covering to it, so it approximated the shape of the Predator. I think there were two versions. There was the one that looked like his head, his bug head with his weird long neck, and then there was a big helmet thing that would go on him too. So when he put his helmet on, it could kind of look like that. Did the original have a helmet? I know they did it for the Stan Winston one with the helmet. Maybe I'm confusing it with that. Maybe the original one, he never wore a helmet. He just was always naked.
The one that you are saying with the eyes?
With the eyes.
The Van Damme one, yeah. Maybe he never had a helmet. Now that I think of it, yeah, because he had like a little pinhead, and I don't remember designing it.
Yeah, the one I saw, it's like large, like this, and it has the eyes, but I never saw the helmet. So basically, the foam, like the for the mattresses, is just to give the proper volume.
Right. So that to match what the foam rubber suit looked like on Van Damme. A second suit that was just the red for the optical effect suit was made.
Okay, I get it. That effect is so nice, and it's really clever how they did it. No, they came out with the idea of the red suit, and then just taking out that from at the edition. Or can you explain again how is the process? Because for me, what I thought it was like it's in the edition, but I think I understood that it's more like in that moment they did it. No. How is it?
It's basically okay. If you see the weatherman on TV, and they stand in front of a blue screen or a green screen, and they put in an optical of the weather behind him. Or pretty much any Avengers movie or Star Wars where everyone is just standing in a big green room and everything is then added in. And what they'll do is, green is is predominantly used now. It used to be blue screen, and even in the past they use yellow screens, but now it's basically green screen. As long as you're not wearing like a green shirt and standing in front of the green screen, because then your body would disappear. You just have to be careful with that. What that does is nowadays it's used through computers. Back then it was through an optical printer. You could just blank out that one color. What they did in Predator was they're in the green jungles, and their idea was we're just going to shoot, instead of the background being a screen, the actor will be the screen. So in the green jungle, the most opposite color to that would be red. Let's have him in a red suit. They would shoot motion control, which was a computer-driven camera movement. So the camera moves over here and it tilts up, and you see the guy is in a red suit up in a tree. Then he gets out of the tree, they reset the camera, it moves, it looks up. There's nothing there, it's just the tree. They can take those two films, put them in an optical printer, and isolate the red guy, and basically just make that blank, and then fill in like whatever kind of look they want to it. And they chose to, because they did the two passes, they could put in the background with just like a kind of a glass effect over it.
Yeah, it looks like a water or mirror.
Right, right. Get my camera. Yeah, so it was basically, instead of the background being a screen, sort of the actor was the screen himself, and they could just isolate him. So all those shots were like that, and so that like if he stood still, you couldn't really see him, but then he would move a little bit, and it had that watery kind of look. Then you could tell something is up there when he's in his stealth mode.
Okay, nice. But that effect, it's made like in the edition, right? Later edition.
Well,
Yeah.
when you were printing the celluloid.
Right.
Okay.
Back then. I mean, now I've been on set like doing Gorilla Suit commercials, and this was maybe even 10 years ago, where I had my gorilla hand, and they film it, and then they film the girl, and 10 minutes later they were showing me video of the girl I was playing King Kong, and the girl is in my hand. It's like how'd you do that so fast? And they're like, oh, that's what we do. What do you mean? Because I was thinking back to the old days, where you have to go process the film and put it through an optical printer and combine the pieces and animate.
Yeah, it was a very long process.
Right.
Now you can shoot it like in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm happy I'm learning. Good, okay.
Oh, go ahead.
No. You.
I was just going to say, so yeah, Kevin Hall's suit was foam latex, and the face was foam latex. Steve Wang, I think, basically designed it and painted it and sculpted it. It was they took a big body cast of Kevin Hall, and a head cast and hand cast and everything, and went through the usual process of sculpting with clay, making molds off of that. I think it was a big 2-piece mold for the body, and then there were some additional pieces where he had like the gun that would come up, and things like that, and then the I'm assuming a fiberglass helmet, that he could take off. A couple of different heads, mechanical heads and stunt heads, and things like that.
I don't know why, but when I saw the face, the one that it's animatronic, it made me feel like it's silicone. I don't know if it's just because it has like the lubricant, or if it's just shiny, or if it's an animatronic, it has to be always foam latex, or is there a way to be like?
You could use silicone. The only drawback with silicone is that it's heavy, and foam is a little bit lighter, and you're always fighting weight. I tried to make a gorilla face once out of silicone, and for one, it just seemed unnecessary with gorilla skin to have like that kind of translucency to it, and for two, it was just heavier than foam, and it's like, the hell with it. It's like, it's so difficult to wear these things. I don't want to have additional weight. I think it just was sculpted and painted so well that it has a look of translucency to it, because it was that first head, the original Predator head, was so nicely done. It was such a nice sculpture. Even when they did Predator 2, to me, I didn't care for that one. I thought the head was too big. It just didn't look right. It didn't look as cool as the first one. And the paint job on that looks so natural when that opens up. And even the later ones with the Alien versus Predators and all those, none of the work was as good, in my opinion, as that first one.
Sorry.
No,
and if it's silicone, when it opens, it will be very heavy. It wouldn't just open so naturally like in this first one. So I think it's all foam, no?
Well, I think it's foam mostly just because we were hardly using any silicone back then. It would have been very rare, and it was just, they had to crank out that second suit pretty fast, and so I don't think they were going to be experimenting with silicone. It's just like, we know foam rubber, we're just going to do foam rubber. It's painted and finished so well that it looks like something fancier than what it is, which is just foam latex.
I like that example of how you can control the appearance of the foam latex just with like a very well paint job. And
well, I mean, look at all the Dick Smith's foam makeups, that are amazing looking, or Rick's, like even something with Eddie Murphy and the Nutty Professor wearing, that much foam on him, and it just looks like skin because it's just painted, it's finished off so naturally, so perfectly, that it's like, looks great.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, what else? I was telling you about like a lot of effects that I wanted to talk, and now I forgot them all.
Well, we have the skin guys, which are cool. The ones that are hanging in the tree, they are cool.
Some of the things we did at Boss Films made it into the movie. Like the skinned guys, we made it Boss, and Carl Weathers, he gets his arm blown off. That we did at Boss, and Jesse Ventura gets like shot in his chest. That was an effect. I remember Todd Masters working on that at Boss, and that made it into the movie. So a couple of things did. Nice. And they rewrote it and cut out all the. So we never even finished them, and Stan didn't do them. The trophy heads in the ship at the end. Again, that was, from what I recall, in the second one.
Okay. And the other thing that I really like now that we jumped a little bit with the bloody scenes, it's the blood of the Predator, no? That it's just like green. Yeah. That's also very cool.
Green and luminescent, no? It's shiny also.
They changed it because we had come up with, I had mixed gallons and gallons of Predator blood, but ours was like this pearlescent, I don't even remember what color it was. I just remember it was pearlescent. It had to be very shiny. But what they ended up using in the film was, they took those glow sticks that you break and they glow, and they just had a million of them, and they would break them and then cut them open. It's a vinyl tube that's flexible with a glass tube inside. When you bend it, it breaks the glass tube, and the two chemicals mix, and you get a reaction. What they would do is then pour that out, and they had steel wool, like a Brillo pad you would use in the kitchen on your pots and pans, but kind of loose steel wool, and they would pour it through the steel wool as a strainer, so all that broken glass would get caught in the steel wool. And all that liquid would go into a bucket, and then they would take that while it was still glowing, they would put it around, and they would film it. Because it only lasts for a certain amount of time, and then the glow goes away.
Yeah, it doesn't last long.
Right. And so they just use those glow sticks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. What else, guys?
Well, then we go into the second one, and there was the big head predator, and basically it's just the same thing. There's skin bodies, but they had their trophy heads in the ship at the end. And I guess there was several predators in that one show up at the end. And they're in Los Angeles in that one, in the future.
The future.
The future of 1995 or whatever it was.
One of the things that I really liked, like going a little bit back with all the suit thing and everything, is they were really, for me, they were really brave to show like the gloves for the hands, because he is like trying to, I think he got shot or something, and then he's trying to deal with a kid and heal himself, and then you can see like the nails and
Right.
like now that I see it, it's like, well, I can see those are gloves and that it's foam latex. So,
Right.
but still, even now for 2020, it's a really nice like piece. But I think they were very brave to show that, and like like a very close shot.
And that's,
Yes.
Kevin Hall in a suit. He was a good suit performer. And he just, you see him like kind of almost struggling a little bit.
Aha, like he's
Yeah,
like,
you can feel that.
like, oh, I can grab it. I can grab it.
anything, but I'm trying.
See?
Yeah, I can empathize. Done so many things where they're like in a gorilla suit or something, and with arm extensions on. There was one where I had to take a cover, like a vinyl cover or protector off of a cell phone with the extensions on. And so I had to peel it and not drop anything. And it's like they ask you to do like almost impossible things. So it's like, good for him. He just went for it,
Yes, and even
And it
if,
looks right.
yeah, no, tell me.
No, I mean, it looks right.
Yeah.
You can see it a little bit clumsy, but it looks fine.
No,
And
but
with the
he-
injury in the leg, it looks.
That's what a
pretty-
monster would do. Monsters are kind of clumsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got big monster hands.
Yeah, and I've been shot.
Mm.
The stress.
Yeah, with the suit, he was like so tall, and also like the suit, it must be very heavy.
Yeah.
So that's also something that when we see that's like the magic of the guy that it's in the suit. It has to make it look like it's not heavy, that it's super easy to wear it, that he's like himself in it, that there is no one in there. No, it's just one guy, like
and
just
it's-
the creature.
It's so difficult to do, having been in so many suits. And he's in Mexico in the jungle running around. I mean,
You're right.
Heat.
you have to be careful that you don't hurt yourself, that you get heat stroke, that you pass out. That's always a concern doing that kind of stuff.
I didn't think of that because I was with you with the Bigfoot when we did the video here in Playa, and you told me like, no, we have to be like fast. It's very hot, and then you told me about the Bigfoot movie, but I didn't thought about that when with Predator, no, and he's in the jungle like you said.
Right. And it turned out fine in Playa that, it wasn't anything too strenuous, and it was just fun, and it was just for, it wasn't like filming the movie where I had to be in it all day long running around LA outside in the summertime, where we had to be very forceful with them, that it's like, I have to take the head off, I have to sit down, that sort of thing. You have to protect the actors, and I'm sure they did because all Stan's guys were down on location with Kevin Hall, that it's like, making sure that he's okay. You drink enough water, you get enough rest, in between takes. Because it is just very, very strenuous. And even I forgot, I was working on Underworld, one of the Underworlds. Is it 4?
I think so.
And we were running the foam for the suits for the werewolves. And one of them was like really big. I mean, the suit was as big as me. And it's foam latex, and foam, it's foam. It's filled with millions of little air bubbles, and it's lightweight. When you're dealing with prosthetics, it's like a feather. It's so light. We lifted the suit up, and I had to carry it out and put it in the guy's truck, and it's like, geez, it was so heavy just because it's so much foam. And I'm sure it was, with Kevin's suit. It was 7 feet tall. So that's a lot of foam.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I really liked this. Even though was my first time watching Predator. I know, Gabriel. I know.
Well, there's no shame. You redeem yourself. You watch it. You like it. Hope so.
I liked it. It was a surprise. Like, I was watching it and suddenly Arnold Schwarzenegger there, and I was like, what the hell is he doing in this movie? I didn't even know that. I just knew that it was filmed. A part of the movie was filmed in Mexico, just because we were in Chichen Itza, and like I said the last time, we found the Predator there, and Kevin was like, what? Why is there a Predator here?
Well, it was the first time I came to visit you, the first time I came to Mexico, and we went to Chichen Itza, and there's all the Mayan trinkets and all the tourist stuff, and the little whistles and the little jaguar sound mimicking things and all that. And then all of a sudden there's a Predator. And so what the hell is he doing here? And then it's like, there's another one.
As I told you before, he's actually a god for us.
Right.
It's very normal to see him.
I got used to seeing Predator all the time in Mexico. But then it's like, oh, well, they filmed it in Mexico, so I guess there's that.
So I don't know what it's more like surprising for me, to see Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie or to see Predator in Chichen Itza.
Both, probably.
Yeah, it starts off as just like an action movie that then turns into that there's an alien, and the concept is he goes and he looks for like the toughest people to fight with, and then that grew into the whole alien versus predator thing, where it's like, we'll fight aliens because they're like the toughest thing ever,
For me, it's
which they are.
Yeah.
For me, it's like it could be a movie, kind of made, filmed, or produced like very like maybe 2000 something. If it wasn't because of the effect of the triangle when he's like pointing out of something, that it's probably just the only thing that tells me it's 80s.
Well, they had
the chopper and the vans and the costumes also tells you that they are 80s.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But the only.
But I mean, it's like you're right about that, the wardrobe and that, but it could be a movie made in the 2000 based in the 80s, but it's just because of the effect of that thing that makes me this is like so 80s.
Yeah.
There was no way to do it back then other than just to animate it, and so it looks like an animated thing, because it is. I mean, now with digital effects, you can make this high-tech targeting thing, but back then they just had to make a cartoon, basically.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's from the 80s. Yes.
Totally. Yeah, it gives it away.
Yeah. It has even talking about a little bit of that part of the. How do you say that? Like to screen what is he's going to shoot? How do you say that in English, Kevin?
It's almost like if you had a scope on a rifle, and you would have the crosshairs in it. That's his version of a crosshair. That it's
okay. Like when that scenes happen, it's very important the mud, of the kind of makeup. You think it's kind of like acrylic or what material?
I don't know. I don't know what they use for that, because it has to.
I think it's mud.
Like real mud,
It could be.
Yeah,
painted.
The final credits. you can actually see mud guy.
See?
Guys that are actually only keeping the mud in place. So I think actually it's mud.
But it's too green. I think I will think that they kind of painted it or put something in there like to making it more like greenish.
They might have, yeah. I assume that if it's mud, actual mud, and not Fuller's Earth or something, but it's real mud, that they would strain it and through screens and everything, and then
like
they might clean it and maybe add glycerin to it to keep it together and so that it stays wet
shiny.
That it does that it if it's just water and dirt to make the mud, it's going to dry out and crack off too fast. So maybe there's glycerin or gel medium or something in there that to make it last a little bit longer.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
And because you have the other scenes that actually the mud is already dry, so that's why it makes me think that it's more mud than something else.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I think for me, that's the only thing. I don't know, you guys.
No, it's just that there were the other movies, but they're all just guys in suits. There's more Predator suits, there's more Alien suits. There's different companies did them. Some I think look better than others. I won't say who. Now I'll be diplomatic. But there were some that looked really good and some I thought looked terrible. And then there was up to the latest one that I've only seen little pieces of on TV that came out last year, I guess. And there's like a giant predator in it, like a super predator. And I know there were some practical things. There's a lot of digital stuff in it. But, it's just, it's like the Alien Predator has become his own monster, like we were talking, the Creature from the Black Lagoon or Frankenstein or something like that. It's just he wasn't just a one-off in that first movie or the sequel, that he's now a legit Hollywood monster.
Yeah.
It's because it's very emblematic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's lovely.
I think Alien, the design is unique for me.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And it was well done. And again, you have to think, they had to turn that around really fast and get that out because of the whole debacle with the Jean-Claude Van Damme suit that so much time was spent on, that they had begun filming. The Stan's guys had to make that Predator suit that now has become so iconic. They had to stop production, or at least slow down and shoot whatever other things they could without the suit, and wait for a new suit to be designed and constructed and then shipped down to Mexico. So it's like they had to work really fast. They were under the gun to get that thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, how much do you know? A week?
No, it was more than a week, but it was fast. No, I mean, I've done stuff in a week with like TV commercials and things. And it's like, build us a Bigfoot suit, and we need it on Saturday. It's like, okay, get to work. But in movie terms, it was fast. I don't know if they had, rushed it out in like a month or a month and a half or something like that. Just everybody's working around the clock crazy to finish it. And that's why it's just a guy in a rubber suit, but it's well done and it looks cool. And, it's become iconic.
And sexy.
What?
Yeah. He's sexy.
Okay.
All right.
Well, Kevin likes gorillas. I like guys in suits.
There you go.
Aliens in suits. I like them.
There you go.
Bueno, okay, so just to mess with Gabrielle, we're gonna make her watch Alien versus Predator.
I can't even get through those movies. For this, I tried to watch it and I just started skipping forward. to me, they're really boring. There's the first one where they're in Antarctica or somewhere, and they go into they find the big pyramid thing that changes.
I haven't even tried it.
And then
No,
there's another one where they come to Earth, and it's so hard to watch because it's so dark. Like everything's at nighttime and it's in the rain. It's really hard to see anything, and it's like it was just so annoying.
Like, why do you even bother to spend money in a movie like with that condition? You can't see anything.
It's cheating, that it's to make your job easier. It's like shooting action sequences with a really shaky camera, so that you can edit very easily. It doesn't matter. Like if you have a stationary camera and you're shooting different angles, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Cutting back and forth with different angles that it doesn't look weird. You don't cross the line. If the camera's moving all over the place, you can't tell, and so it's very easy just to cut random pieces together. And to me, that's cheating too. Sometimes.
And also the job is not like very fine job. You can have a little bit of an edge on a wound or something, and you can pass over it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's so dark, nobody's going to notice.
Right, exactly. And sometimes I understand, that's done out of desperation. They had a low budget or, whatever. And it's like, let's just move the camera around a lot and get through this. We only have 3 weeks to film this whole movie. I've been through enough of those. I get that. But that doesn't mean I have to waste my time watching Alien versus Predator movies.
That's my point.
Yes.
That's my point too.
Yeah.
Life is too short.
I can see whatever else you want, but not those ones. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just messing with you, Gabriel. I'm not going to watch it either. And if I watch it, I don't think I'm going to enjoy it.
Well, if you watch it, I watch it.
No. Está
I
bien.
can do that.
You know what? Now that Kevin was mentioning a lot Ghostbusters, I think we should go through those again. Not again, but for the next MDW Weekend Inspirations.
Okay.
Ghostbusters, that's nice.
Yes. Well, if it's okay with you guys, we can finish it here. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Yeah, I guess that's about it for Predator. Yeah. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think so. I really liked it, and let's try to keep also. I really like that we talked about the special effects, and then you you taught us about like some very nice details about how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, I've been around a long time.
Yeah.
It pays off to be old sometimes. I can tell you these stories.
Charlie.
Because I was there. So.
Nice.
And it's worth it.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so thank you so much. This is again our number 10th chat. And we let's meet again next week.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much, Gabriel, again.
Yes.
No, thank you, guys. Thank you for let me watch this amazing movie.
I can see that you are a little bit like I think she left.
Oh, there she is.
No, here.
No, that you are a little bit like
Sorry.
Kevin, but you do it with your clothes. Like now you have something about I can see it's like sky.
It's la nebulosa de Orion, Orion's nebulous. Actually, it's because I love space.
Uh-huh.
So it's
Cool.
Alien again, and I didn't have anything for Alien. So
No, but it's okay. Everyone is going with the topic.
I didn't have anything this week for Predator. I already did
No.
the machine gun for vampires, so I didn't want to show
I
that.
told you that I was going to send you a sculpture from Chichen Itza, but you said no. Okay, guys. Well, let's finish it here. I send you big
Okay.
hugs and kisses.
Hugs. Take care.
See you next week.
Yes, next week.